Hi everyone, welcome to the WhiteleyVerse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the WhiteleyVerse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
A Missing Way to Go. Retired Detective Kendra O'Connor stood outside a very large and rather beautiful-looking townhouse in the heart of London. Kendra really liked its large, spacious window, black metal bars that formed a sort of fence around the property, and the large stone steps that led to the front door. Kendra had interviewed a lot of rich, powerful people, from millionaires to journalists to politicians, in these sort of townhouses. But she never really liked them deep down. The problem with these sorts of townhouses were that they were often so fake, new, and they had no character whatsoever. Unlike Kendra's house in London, that had been built before World War II, had a couple of murders inside, and the last owner was a cannibal. Not that Kendra ever told her husband they were the reasons why they had gotten the house so cheap. And as long as her husband didn't find out, everything was going to be fine, surely? Kendra looked around the large street with the sound of black taxis driving up and down echoing around the street. Children laughed as they went to school with their parents, and the local teenagers played music ever so quietly as they joked and talked about adult things. That was definitely one thing she didn't understand about teenagers today. Why did they always have to have music playing, even when they were out in the street and everyone could hear it? It flat out didn't make any sense to Kendra, but as long as they were happy, safe, and enjoying themselves, it didn't really matter. As Kendra waited for her best friend's retired Jeff Long, who was the official head of the London Metropolitan Cold Case Task Force, and retired junior officer Patricia Nelson, Kendra seriously started to love the wonderful smells in the air. The air was a sensational combination of hints of lavender, jasmine, and violets. Kendra had never smelt such a combination, but it seriously worked. There were also subtle hints of roses, probably from one of these townhouses' tiny gardens. But the reason and the case why she was here was just sad, disturbing, and Kendra really wished she wasn't here. Samantha Cane had been an up-and-coming lady in the House of Lords, with massive connections reaching into the heart of UK politics. She always spent every Thursday and Friday working at the soup kitchen, even though she had millions of her own money. Then she always donated her wages back to the soup kitchen. She also gave away tons of money to different charities each day, and when the Met Police investigated her to see if she was using the charities to launder money, she wasn't. She was completely innocent and just wanted to do good. Kendra always loved people like Samantha, the type of people who did so much good even when it made them look weird in the eyes of their peers. Kendra supposed she was a little like that her fellow retiree. Tons of people just couldn't understand why she gave donating her time to solve these cold cases. But as Kendra always said, it was more of a calling, and something she had to do. She had to help herself, the task force, and the victims. Then in November 1997, Mrs. Cane left the House of Lords, said hello to her neighbor as she kept back home, and then she went into her home never to be seen again. Kendra was a detective back then, but she was working deep undercover at the time. Yet even she knew how massive and large-scale the investigation and search was for Mrs. Cane. The police spent 3 months tearing apart London and the rest of the country trying to find her. Even the entire homeless community mobilized en masse, trying to find the woman who had given so much to them. But no one could ever figure out how she had left the home, because it was impossible that she was still inside. Every single wall had been stripped out, every piece of furniture dismantled, and even the ceiling was taken down in case her body was hiding there. Nothing. As Kendra stood outside smelling the wonderful hints of lavender, jasmine, and roses, she couldn't figure out for the life of her what the police had missed. But that was why the case was cold, and the police had handed it over to the task force. "Morning, hun," Patricia shouted as she quickly walked over to Kendra. Kendra looked around the little street to see if Jeff Long was coming, but she couldn't see him. Yet she did see Patricia smile at her. "What?" Kendra asked. "Well, Jeff's had a little accident with his car," Patricia said. Kendra just smiled. She just knew this was going to be good. "It turned out, hun," Patricia said, "that Jeff was driving along a London street right next to the River Thames. He was driving along minding his own business, then a massive lorry zoomed towards him." Kendra just shook her head. This was going to be bad. The lorry got faster and faster until Jeff feared for his life and turned sharply, Patricia said. Kendra felt her stomach tense. He turned so fast. His car flew forward, crashed through the concrete railing next to the River Thames, and now his car is ever so finely balanced between staying on land and falling in the Thames below. "Oh," Kendra said. It was probably one of the lamest things to say, but there was nothing else she could say. She really wanted to go and help him, but she knew that stuff was better left to the professionals. "Should we go and help him?" Kendra asked, if only to make sure that Patricia didn't think she was uncaring towards Jeff. Patricia wrapped her 70-something-year-old arms around Kendra for a few seconds. "Nah, hun. Jeff would want us to solve the case, and we both know the professionals can save him." Kendra just hoped that that was true. "Okay," Kendra said slowly. "Bought your laptop?" Patricia pretended to look offended, and took out her very expensive and high-tech looking laptop. Kendra really wanted to learn how to do the high-tech computer stuff, if only because she was a tad embarrassed that a 70-plus-year-old could do it better than herself, aged 66. "I know the police did a lot of work back in the day, but I couldn't see too much actual information in the reports," Kendra said. "Exactly, hun," Patricia said. "The police really just wanted to make sure the report was thick, to cover up how little they had found." "Did you think of anything?" Patricia shook her head, and Kendra focused back on the townhouse. This was the townhouse had belonged to Samantha Cane, but ever since 1997 her next of kin, which was now her husband's grandson because he remarried and died, had kept it undisturbed. "What enemies did she have back in the day?" Kendra asked. She knew from the case file and reports that the police had checked every single person who had sent Mrs. Cane hate, death threats, and abuse. Again, all of that turned up nothing. Patricia just looked at Kendra. Kendra knew that she was grasping at straws, but she couldn't get her head round the fact that the police had missed something, given how massive of an operation this was to find Samantha. "Excuse me," a little female voice said. Kendra watched a little old lady in her dressing gown walk carefully down her stairs towards them. Kendra went over to her. "Yes." "Are you two with the Met?" she asked. Kendra was a little surprised how well informed she must be or something, but her confusion must have shown as the little old lady laughed. "Relax, my dear. I've lived here since the 80s with my husband and my children. Though both are gone now. Husband dead, and children with their own families." Kendra nodded. She actually had to note to call up her kids later, to see if she could travel up or down the country to visit them this weekend. "People only come here if they're cops," the little old lady said. Kendra smiled. "Anything you want to tell us?" The little old lady shrugged. "I told the police everything I knew back then. I just want her to come out of that house one day like she had never been missing in the first place." Kendra smiled and gently rubbed the lady's arm before she went back inside. Patricia cocked her head at Kendra. "You know, hun, Samantha didn't always used to live here." Kendra nodded. She had read this bit more in the police file. Mrs. Cane used to live in Cornwall, until she became a lady and got a seat in the House of Lords. Sure, she had received some death threats and hate back in Cornwall, but the police checked it all out. That was what she told Patricia. "We need to get inside and see if time has revealed anything," Kendra said. Patricia laughed. "You're getting almost philosophical." Kendra playfully hit her on the head. "We're getting desperate leads, and I don't want to think about Jeff and his car too much." Patricia just nodded as she walked up the stairs to the front door, took out a key and unlocked it. Kendra went to follow her, but it was one of her most unfavorite parts of the job. Going into a probable dead person's house just felt like such an invasion of their lives, personal boundaries and sanctuaries. Kendra went inside the townhouse and was instantly impressed by the massively long white hallway that ran down the entire length of the house. The smell of damp, mold and roses filled the air in some kind of weird combination that Kendra wasn't sure she liked or not. Patricia dived into one of the 5 rooms that went out of the hallway. Kendra followed her in, and she wasn't that impressed. This large white room might have once made a great living room with a coffee table, sofas and a TV, but it was so bare and unloved now. Kendra wanted to know what Samantha would have imagined now. Is this really how she would have wanted her home? In all honesty, Kendra probably would have wanted it given away to her family, a charity or a homeless person if nothing else. She wouldn't have wanted it this bare and unloved. Patricia and Kendra just stood in the empty room, and Kendra realized how bad of an idea this was going to be. It didn't matter how much searching they did, they weren't going to find anything. But Kendra couldn't help but feel like something was off here. "Patricia," Kendra said, "bring up the house plans, please." Patricia nodded and started typing away on her laptop. "Does this room feel smaller to you?" Kendra asked. Patricia focused on her computer screen. "This room is meant to be 5 meters long, 7 meters wide and 3 meters tall." Kendra quickly looked around and damn it, the room was perfectly to scale. That was one of the problems of working during summers as a teenager as a builder's helper, back when health and safety wasn't as strict. Kendra just knew measurements like the back of her hands. Kendra gestured they needed to start searching other rooms, and Patricia nodded. Kendra didn't know what they would find, but something was definitely off here. She had a feeling. After searching the entire house bottom to top and searching a lot in the kitchen, where Kendra had found a very furry steak, Kendra and Patricia stood in Samantha's large master bedroom with no bed, no wardrobe or drawers. It was just another bare, unloved white room with massive windows that showed the wonderful, but rather dead rose garden below. Kendra would have liked to see the rose garden when Mrs. Cane was still alive, to see how wonderful she had kept it. There was something mentioned in the police report about Mrs. Cane, regularly giving her favorite people roses for no reason but to show them how much she loved them. Kendra really liked Mrs. Cane. But as Kendra looked at the very end of the bedroom, where the police report said her wardrobes would have been, Kendra just knew for sure that that space was too small. Patricia only confirmed it. In fact, that part of the bedroom was 4 meters smaller than it was meant to be. Patricia clicked her fingers. She received a lot of hate, hun, didn't she? And remember how graphic and violent some of it was? Kendra gasped. She should have seen this coming sooner, but it was all so clear now. Samantha must have built herself an escape or panic room, just in case the haters ever attacked her at her own home. Something that was and still is very possible. And panic rooms are normally built by out-of-town or city companies, Kendra said. But hun, where's the open thingy? Patricia asked. Kendra went over to the other end of the bedroom and just stared at the perfectly painted white walls, the skirting board and the ceiling. It was strange how the police hadn't touched this wall, and it was almost like they just knew there was something behind here. In reality, it was probably just because there were tons of power cables, water pipes, and all the other vital things a house needed in this modern age. So it was probably far easier to leave the wall untouched than risk bursting a pipe and having to pay to fix it. Kendra knelt down on the cold floor and tapped the skirting board. It didn't take long for her to find a hollow-sounding board that popped open after a few taps. Kendra pulled the board away, revealing a little switch. "Ready?" Kendra asked. Patricia slowly nodded, and both of them knew exactly what they were going to find. It made no sense for there not to be a dead body inside. Kendra flicked the switch, and the entire section of the wall in front of her rose up. The smell of mummified flesh was overwhelming, and Kendra shot back. Patricia gasped, and Kendra was just speechless as they stared at the mummified corpse of Samantha Cane on the ground with a paintbrush in her hand and an open tin of blue paint next to her. "The door must have closed on her, and the paint fumes must have built up her, killing her," Kendra said. Patricia slowly nodded, and after a few seconds weakly smiled. "I'll call the active detectives in Hun," Patricia said, walking away. As Kendra just continued to stare at Samantha's corpse, she couldn't help but feel terrible that this wonderful, caring woman had just been trying to protect herself and others. And her own death is what she got for all her troubles. Because at the end of the day, all she was trying to do was build herself a new life, better other people and protect the innocent. And Kendra could love and admire her for that. Kendra was about to leave when she got a text from Jeff saying that he was okay, but his car was gone in the River Thames. As much as Kendra loved him as a friend, he was utterly hopeless sometimes. But as she walked away and went to meet Patricia back outside, the only thing Kendra could feel was the sheer happiness and joy that came from solving a case, helping someone get justice, and most importantly, Jeff was okay. And that was one of the most important things of all.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the WhiteleyVerse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the WhiteleyVerse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.